The first sign that something was deeply wrong wasn't the silence I craved, it was the sound. I stepped out of my old Ford Ranger that Friday afternoon, and instead of the crisp, clean whisper of the Cascade Pines, all I heard was a frantic, mechanical roar. My electric meter, mounted on the side of my little cabin, the one I call the Raven's Perch, was spinning, screaming, like a turbine about to tear itself off the wall. This cabin, man, it's not just four walls. It's my escape hatch from the insanity of Portland's tech scene, from the deadlines, the noise, the feeling that you're always just a cog. I'd spent 3 years sinking every spare dime and every weekend into restoring it. Fresh wiring was the first thing I tackled, being a software architect who appreciates things running clean and efficient. I wanted it perfect. And for a while, it was. But then the bills started creeping up, subtle at first, then aggressive. The last one was almost triple the previous month's, and I'd only been up here maybe 48 hours in that whole billing cycle. I kept telling myself it was a faulty heater, or maybe some ancient ghost appliance running in the crawlspace, but the minute I heard that meter on Friday, all my excuses evaporated. Something was actively sucking power from my life, from my sanctuary, like a parasite. I walked the perimeter, checking everything. And that's when I saw it, not a ghost, but something much worse. A massive, industrial-grade extension cord, the thick, bright yellow kind you use for heavy machinery, snaking across my damp porch, slithering down the bank and disappearing into the dense rhododendrons like a neon umbilical cord feeding a monstrous baby. Before I could even fully process the sheer audacity of it, she burst out of the trees. Brenda. Frizzy, highlighted hair, huge, mirrored sunglasses, and an attitude that felt bigger than Mount Hood itself. When I confronted her, when I pointed at that yellow lifeline and demanded she unplug her illegal power tap from my home, she didn't flinch. She folded her arms like a toddler refusing a nap and looked at me with pure, unadulterated annoyance. "Excuse me," she snapped, "you don't get to sneak up on people. I have every right to use this." I swear, the arrogance was a physical punch to the gut. "I'm Ethan Vance," I said, trying to keep my voice level, "and I own this property. You are stealing my electricity." She just sneered, reciting some personal manifesto about mountain community resources, and how we share up here because her power company had wronged her. That's when the real insanity hit. She pulled out her phone and started shrieking into it, calling the cops on me, right there on my porch. 911. I need the police. This dangerous man is attacking me and trying to stop me from accessing the community grid. I actually looked up at the sky, wondering if I'd slipped into a parallel dimension where theft was a public service. When the cruiser rolled up, Brenda rushed them, arms waving like a stranded airline marshal, demanding they arrest the dangerous thief, me, a guy holding a phone and a stack of utility bills. Sergeant Reyes, a tall, tired-looking officer, stepped out, followed by a younger partner, Officer Chen. Reyes held up a hand. "Ma'am, slow down. What exactly is the charge?" Brenda launched into her fiction about renting the cabin to me and how I was harassing her. I waited calmly, pulled out my folder, the deed, the utility logs, the time-stamped photo of the meter spinning like mad at 6 a.m., and handed it to Sergeant Reyes. He flipped through the official paperwork, his eyebrows lifting slightly when he saw the photos. "All breakers off, Mr. Vance." "All off," I confirmed, pointing to the yellow cord. But the meter was running at top speed. The shift was instantaneous. Reyes turned from me, walked right up to the yellow cord, and followed its path with his eyes. "Ma'am," he called back to Brenda, whose face was now a spectacular shade of plum, "where does this cord lead?" "That is none of your business," she yelled, sealing her fate with the single worst answer she could have picked. Officer Chen stepped up. "Actually, ma'am, if this is powering appliances without permission, that's grand theft. We have cause to inspect." Watching them follow that yellow artery down the hill, watching Brenda throw herself in front of them like a frantic soccer goalie, was a moment of true, quiet satisfaction. Down the muddy trail, past the broken junk and the tire ruts, they found her old, run-down trailer. And there it was, the final cinematic reveal, the yellow cord running straight into her living room window, powering an array of high-draw appliances, a rattling mini-fridge, an oil-filled radiator, and a prehistoric window AC. I spent the next hour securing my perimeter. I used wire cutters to snip that disgusting yellow cord clean in half. I tossed her end into the woods and installed a reinforced, locking steel box over the exterior outlet. Overkill? Maybe. But I wasn't leaving this to chance again. Then old man Silas showed up. Silas lives about a quarter-mile down the old logging road, the kind of man whose beard looks like it grew out of the moss on the rocks. He just tapped his cane on the porch and gave me a grim nod. Saw the cruisers. Figured it was about Brenda. He told me what I suspected. She'd been poking around everyone's property, throwing her weight around, claiming she was head of a community committee that existed only in her entitled imagination. And you need to know, Silas said, lowering his voice, her brother, Mitch, just bailed her out. He's bad news. All muscle, no brain, and fiercely loyal to that viper. That warning was quickly followed by a furious, cracking voicemail on my phone, Brenda, screaming about lawsuits and threats. She was out. And she was angry. The escalation was immediate. I installed a mini trail camera aimed at the woods, and the next morning, there it was, 2:17 a.m. A blurry silhouette, Mitch, standing just inside the tree line, watching my cabin. Not stealing, just lurking. That crossed a line. Then, when I drove to the station for my formal statement with Sergeant Reyes, Mitch paid a visit. I found my exterior breaker box pried slightly loose, a cheap, angry attempt at sabotage. I knew he'd be back, and he was. That afternoon, I found his dented silver pickup parked halfway up my driveway. I stepped out, camera phone ready, and watched him emerge from the trees, a wall of bristling, ignorant aggression. "You had my sister arrested," he growled, stomping towards me. "You're gonna drop the charges. Tell the sheriff you made a mistake." "She committed a crime, Mitch," I said calmly, recording him. "Multiple crimes, actually. She stole, she trespassed, and she filed a false police report. And now you're trying to coerce me." His eyes widened. He hated being recorded, but what broke him was when I mentioned the vandalized breaker box. "The sheriff has photos of the tampering, Mitch. They know you were here." The air was thick with tension, about to snap, when Silas appeared from the woods behind Mitch, his cane steady. "Well, look here," Silas drawled, "looks like trouble I didn't get invited to." Silas didn't take sides, he just stood there, a solid, unmoving wall of mountain common sense. He talked Mitch down, reminding him that every word he said would only make Brenda's legal situation worse. It was enough. Mitch spat on the ground and peeled out in his truck. The immediate danger was gone, thanks to Silas. But the psychological games weren't. Later, a new neighbor, Chloe, showed up on my porch. Brenda and Mitch had been banging on her door, trying to rally a complaint group, spreading the lie that I was dangerous and rigged the electric system. Chloe, thank God, didn't buy it. "We'll back you," she promised. People shouldn't be fooled by her. The support was a massive relief. Then, the final, chilling message landed on my phone. A picture of me, standing on my porch, taken from the dark of the tree line, the exact spot Mitch had been lurking. The text beneath it was simple, venomous: "You should have minded your business." That photo, that was the last straw. Stalking. Visual proof of criminal harassment. I forwarded the image, the timestamp, and the text straight to Sergeant Reyes. I was done being reactive. I was going on the offense. And that's exactly what brought the curtain down. I had Silas over for coffee, and as we sat there, listening to the rain, the sound of heavy, furious footsteps approached. Brenda and Mitch. They came right to the edge of my porch light, screaming and ranting about how I ruined their lives and demanding I open the door. I didn't move. Silas didn't move. We just listened as they dug their own legal grave, their voices cracking with hysteria. And then, through the trees, came the sight I'll never forget, the slow, deliberate turn of a police cruiser. Blue and red flashing through the wet pines. Sergeant Reyes stepped out. Brenda's scream cut off mid-sentence. Mitch froze. It was the moment they realized they weren't in control anymore. They had pushed too far, they had lied too often, and they had finally picked a fight with someone who valued facts over fury. In the end, this wasn't just about a couple of bucks worth of electricity in the Cascade foothills. It was a blunt, brutal lesson: boundaries only protect us if we're willing to defend them. People like Brenda count on you looking the other way, on you wanting to keep the peace. But sometimes, the only way to get real peace is to stand your ground with methodical, undeniable evidence. Respect isn't owed to entitled people just because they shout the loudest, it's earned by honoring other people's property and their work.